So a woman goes out with a guy on a date, and they have a really great time. He takes her back to, I guess, her house, and she says, hey, just to let you know, I'm separated, but I'm still legally married. Should she have said something in the beginning, before the date? And they were out for maybe like 2 or 3 hours at dinner or at an event or something like that.
Like the husband is in the crib?
Wait, that's exactly why.
That's why you
Like,
can't come in.
like if you see that light come on, that's him?
No, she was not legally separated, but she's in the process of being divorced. So is that separated? Yeah.
Well, because some states require you to have a legal separation, and then others require you to have a separation such that it meets a certain number of days before you can actually get divorced. But that's
right. But that doesn't mean that she started her divorce.
Well, yeah, that does mean you've started it, because if you have a 90-day requirement to be, living separately and apart from your spouse, you have to meet that threshold before you can file.
If that state allows, if that state requires.
But that's what I'm saying. That's neither here nor there, because in one state or in one case, it might be that is the start of the divorce, just because there's no filing doesn't mean that the process hasn't started. Going back to her house where the husband potentially is, or the husband could potentially be, whether, I don't know, he got to pick the kids up and he an hour early and he just sitting outside waiting, trying to, miss traffic, or he working on his phone, whatever. I think that's something that should have been brought up for safety.
Yeah.
Because if you tell me after the fact, I'm going to feel like you trying to get me caught up in a trick bag. You got me at this man's house, or the house where this man can legally be, and I don't know what kind of nutcase he may be.
Yeah.
I think that that's something that should be mentioned before the date even. Like, how I'm going on a date with you, I don't even know that you're married.
Right. Well, yeah, that would be ideal, but I think maybe on the date,
yeah,
at least.
Well, yeah. If you just didn't happen to mention it before we went on this date, I would need that to be said. There's no by the way. That's not a by the way statement. Like, by the way, I'm married still legally, but we're separated right now.
Yeah,
that's not a by the way. That's not something you could just throw in there.
That sounds something you specifically avoided to see if you were having a good time with this person or not, to see if it was worth telling them.
Yeah, I think during the date is ideal, not pulling up to the crib. Like, I'm about to get out, but by the way, you see a man throwing out the garbage, that might be my soon-to-be ex-husband.
Yeah. I think that anything that could be detrimental to the beginning of your relationship should be discussed on the first date. I feel like anything that is, I guess, marriage talk, for example, finances, you don't need to bring up anything with finances on the first date, because obviously you're not financially invested in that person, or at least you shouldn't be by the first date. But anything like kids or your relationship status, or, for example, like if you're poly, that should be brought up, because I should have the choice to choose whether or not I want to move forward with you in this relationship.
I mean, also, it makes me wonder, like, what questions are you asking this person on the date? Like, what's really important to you? That, how did this not come up? I understand you don't want to talk about your past relationships, but at some point in time, you had to have asked her if she was single, like, what's your situation? And for that to not come up, then are we saying that they were just out there vibing and just having a good time and just forgot everything?
Yeah, I think because it also depends on how long y'all been talking before the first date, right? Like, some people you hit it off and you meet on a Wednesday, you go on the first date on a Friday. Some people, because of conflict of scheduling or whatever the case may be, you may not hang out with that person for a month or so. So, if I'm talking to you for a month and none of these questions came up until we actually met in person, then I think maybe that should have came up if we're getting to know each other via text or phone call before actually hanging out together. But if it was like 48 hours, 72 hours when we met and now we went on a date, it's a little bit different. You have a little bit of wiggle room where you should then talk about it at the first date, as opposed to speaking for a month and none of this came up. Like, I'm poly, or I'm married, or whatever, whatever those things is that I should know before investing my time and extra energy into you.
And I think at a certain age, those are things that are going to naturally come up.
Yeah.
Because you be like, oh, I'm divorced, or, oh, my kid is in the second grade. And,
Yeah, where's the mother?
Yeah.
It's all attached to that conversation.
Exactly. So in that case, if it's withheld, I think that is a bit nefarious, and that's already a red flag for, you know, the other person. But I think when you're younger, you don't have that level of responsibility, and you've never had that level of responsibility, I could see how, you know, it wouldn't come up. Or say one person has that responsibility, so you're not even worried about asking this person if they got kids, if they married, if they, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because that's not your life.
Yeah.
And every date, every person that goes on a date don't have the same purpose. Like every person that goes on a date isn't to find love. Some people are going on dates just to have something for the moment. You know what I'm saying? It could be sexual. It could just be, I needed something to do. I needed somebody to hang out with. I needed some type of attention or whatever the case may be. Yeah. So I may not me, but someone may not ask all of those questions because they may not look at you as that person potentially to be with them in the future. It just may be something of the present, so they may not really care. That could go for men and women.
So how do you feel about people not disclosing they have children, though? We'll say you don't say it on the first date, and we'll give them the benefit of the doubt of the same thing we gave her as far as it just didn't come up. They were having a good time. Mm-hmm. Say second or third date, how would that make you feel if like you met a woman and she didn't mention her kids once?
Well, yeah, that's kind of
weird.
That's weird. Yeah, if you don't mention second or third date that you have a child or children, that's weird.
People that like their kids talk about their kids.
I was about to say.
So
I'm bringing them up.
We saying that it's weird for a woman because obviously we would expect a woman to talk about her kids, but honestly, I feel the same way about a man. If you're not bringing up your kids, are those kids that you were around a lot? Do you like your kids? Are you keeping it? Are you ashamed that you're a man with kids dating?
Red flag when you think about it.
Yeah,
I guess.
I think that a lot of people might be either ashamed of them or their kids, or they are trying to manipulate someone into a relationship with them, hoping that they'll like them enough from the first and second date that they'll just accept it by the third one, essentially.
There's also like a reverse red flag, if that makes sense, right? Like, why haven't you asked me this? If that makes
That's what I was saying.
Why haven't you asked me, this is our third date, why haven't you asked me if I have a girl? Why haven't you asked me if I was ever married? Why haven't you asked me if I have kids? Like, you could look at it both ways. Like, are your intentions different? You know what I'm saying? In a regular dating to get to know each other, to be together, possibly type of a relationship, or is your intentions, you know, some sort of financial game, some sort of physical game, whether it's man to woman, woman to man. You know what I'm saying? Why aren't you asking me these questions?
Or sometimes you let the vibe just catch you.
So that's what I was saying.
And you just forget, because what if you pursued me? So I didn't think to ask if you got a girl. You came over here.
Right. Exactly.
You know,
what am I asking you for?
Yeah, like, and we've been vibing. And also Aaron mentioned this point earlier, like, what if you guys are living two different kind of lives. So for me, I don't have no kids, and I don't usually be talking to nobody that have kids. So that's not really the first thing that's going to come out of my mouth, even though I should. At this day and age, I should be asking people if they got kids, you know? But that's not going to be the first question that I ask someone my age. So that might have been my bad. Yeah. But that's the reason I didn't ask, 'cause I wasn't thinking about that. But if you did, you should have said, why are you waiting for me to ask?
Yeah,
if we're getting to know each other,
It falls on the person with the obligation, personally.
We'll say they both have kids, and if it didn't come up, it would fall on both of us.
Yeah.
No, but if we're getting to know each other, first date, and we're just talking about our everyday lives, what do you do? Like, what do you do outside of work? Or, you know, how does your kids not get brought up?
Yeah.
Well,
That's weird.
It depends. I can see a woman not bringing it up initially. You know what I'm saying? They want to make sure this is somebody that they intend to get a little bit closer with before they bring up, you know, their personal life, like their kids. And I think it's weird. You just meeting a guy on the first date and you letting them drop you home. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you ain't lying.
I get it happens, but, you know, if you're in a house and you have kids and all that, you know what I'm saying? I think that's a little bit first date. It's like if you just met somebody. So I could see a woman trying to be a little bit guarded. Like, let me make sure this guy's not a weirdo before I start telling them about my kids or something. On the male aspect, I feel like if it shouldn't be hidden. You know what I'm saying? But on the women, I could get it.
Is it because the woman is scared that it could put her kids in danger?
Yeah, I mean, you don't like, people weird, both men and women.
I get it.
I go on a first date with you, and all of a sudden, 3 days later, you're stalking me outside and I got kids. You know what I'm saying? We only went on one date, and all of a sudden, you're outside my door in the bushes. Like, you're putting me and my kids in danger. So maybe I don't let you know all that information until I'm feeling you.
Gotcha.
I feel like regardless if you meet someone like that, regardless if you have kids or not, they're going to do that. So I feel like bringing my kids up. Like, so no, I mean, like, if he's a stalker, he's going to stalk me regardless of whether I have kids or not. So I just feel like you don't have to necessarily describe your kids to the person, but you can bring up that you have children. So, like, yes, not mentioning your kids on the first date, regardless of the gender, is weird.
Like I said, people that like their kids, people that take care of their kids, people that are proud of their kids, they talk about their kids.
Yeah.
People be knowing their kids and they ain't never even met them. So it's just even, because I'll tell you how easy it is for you to mention your kids. You be like, ooh, child, we got to get out of here because I got to wake up at 6. Like,
why do you got to be up?
Right.
Yeah, like I think if you work 9 to 5, why on earth are you waking up at 6? Because I'd be like, oh, why you gotta get up so early? Yeah. Like, oh, I go to the gym, or oh, I go water my mama's plants every day, or I gotta get my kids up.
Right.
You know, so it's just, again, I think it's kind of hard to, like you said, unless it's intentional, it's kind of hard for it to not
come up in a conversation, like in a real good conversation. It's kind of hard for it not to come up. Unless my intentions are not to learn anything about your kids. Unless my intentions is to, like, do something physical with you. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like, I don't care about all of that. What we doing tonight? You know?
Yeah.
Then it's different.
And fuck them kids.